G'day, Pastor Blake here. Thanks so much for watching this message today. I pray that this sermon and resource would help grow you in your relationship with Jesus, also in conjunction with a local church. If you have any questions about our church, you can head to our website, devonportcoc.com.au. Again, thanks for watching this message today, and I do hope that it blesses you in your love and devotion towards Jesus Christ. Turn, 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 a song that was written originally by Bob Seger and actually made famous by the Byrds in 1965, and that's the Byrds playing that live on the Ed Sullivan Show. Did anyone see that live? No, okay, all right. But you're probably aware of the song. The lyrics are almost verbatim from the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 to 8. You know it well. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to reap that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain that which is to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time of love and a time of hate, a time of war and also a time of peace. I've been thinking about seasons. Seasons in our lives and in our relationships, in our marriages, in our church. And it would be fair to say that our lives are actually full of different seasons. Some of you are in a different season now. Our church, I believe, is heading into a brand new season. And so I felt led and prompted by God's Holy Spirit to set the 2023 church theme as seasons. When we can actually read the seasons of life, when you can read the season of your life, when you can actually we can help each other to understand the seasons. So over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to preach some general principles about seasons and introductory ideas about seasons. And also next week, I'm going to talk about spiritual seasons in our lives. And after that, those 2 weeks, we're going to commence a series on the season of Lent as we enter into a season of Lent, which actually begins, I think, on February the 22nd. And Lent is going to be a season of preparation. I've never preached through Lent before, but I'm going to borrow from other traditions, and we're going to prepare our hearts for Lent as we prepare our hearts for Easter as we journey through the season of Lent. And I think it's going to be a very, very fruitful journey as we go through Lent up to Easter. We're going to have prayer times and fasting times, and also we're going to have a big family event. We're going to share a Passover meal together with a big lamb spit. So we look forward to that as we approach Easter. You know, when God created the world, he set in motion different seasons. Seasons of weather. We understand that. In fact, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 22, it says, "As long as the earth remains, there will be springtime and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, day and also night." So God has actually established seasons in the world, seasons of weather. As we know, we're in summer at the moment. Not too long, we're going to be heading into autumn. But God has also established seasons of human activity. There are seasons of life, relationally, physically, and emotionally. In verse 1, it says there is a time for everything, and there's actually a season for every activity under the heavens, King Solomon says. What is King Solomon saying? He's saying that everything on earth has special seasons. Some of you are gardeners, so you would understand seasons. You enjoy to watch things grow. I'm more of a roundup kind of guy. But I actually am, I probably care more about the plants out there in the garden in the church than my own, actually. But I can see that I'm finally seeing growth in those plants in our garden bed there, just out the front. And they're starting to pop up. And I'm believing through just the power of seasons that in 12 months they're going to be awesome, right? So if you're a gardener, you understand seasons. You understand when to plant and when not to. But every gardener knows that you have to have a change of seasons for things to grow. Man, like, you know, Mark, you'd know that with lawn mowing, right? Spring, and the lawn goes wild. But it's dormant. I don't mow my lawn much in winter. But come spring, man, you've got to be out there every single week, don't you? And the same is true in our lives with seasons. As people, we have to go through various seasons in order to grow. Maybe I could put it in language, in real life language, that you and I could probably understand a little bit more, even though we can understand what King Solomon's saying there, and maybe in a tone that maybe I think King Solomon intended. That there is a time for a healthy pregnancy, there's also a time for miscarriage. There's a time when you can have fun with your kids, and there's actually a time when they're way too cool to be seen with you as teenagers. There's a time when your babies are in nappies, and then there's a time when you wonder if you can afford the groceries to feed them. This is a counselling session. Then there's a time when you're earning a salary, and there's a time when you hope that you've saved enough for your retirement. So this morning, I just want to look at some general principles about seasons, and then discover how we can actually navigate the different seasons that we may be in, and then we can go home. So what's one thing, the first thing we need to understand about seasons? We need to understand this, that seasons are beyond my control. Seasons are, church, beyond my control and your control. You can't control when they happen, and you can't even actually control how long they'll happen or last. Most seasons usually announce themselves. Have you thought about this? That most seasons in my life and your life announce themselves with an interruption, an inconvenience, or an irritation. I'll say that again. Most seasons come into your life and announce themselves to three major ways. An inconvenience, an interruption, an inconvenience, or an irritation. Sometimes you know a change of season is coming because you just got this gut feel. And you just get this prompting. You know, these three things happen, and in a minute, your and my neat little schedules get thrown out the door. You may be married, a young married couple, and surprise, surprise, you're pregnant. And guess what? New season. You had plans for a great holiday, but now you're making plans to get the nursery right and prepared. You had plans for promotion, but now there's an economic downturn, and you find yourself out looking for a new job, a new career. Youth pastor enters your office late April, early May last year and says, hey, I'm moving on. I've got a prompting and I've got an opportunity to go to Alice Springs Baptist Church. New season, brand new season for them. Great for them. Now we're in a new season, and so is James. And that's why we're planning a brand new season with an associate pastor. And I believe that's going to happen. It could, as I said, we might need to wait, but I believe it will happen. God is the right person for us. Just so you know, in that case with Yowie, I did read the season. I knew it was coming. But most times, a season changes come as a surprise and an interruption to your life and to your plans. I mean, we know this as a church really intimately at the moment. A health diagnosis comes, a doctor's appointment comes, and most times out of the blue. But your season changes and a new journey begins in an instant. Plans evaporate and something new and different begins. Do you know that grief is a season of life? Through an extended illness or bereavement. Times when the kids grow up, move out and marry. That is a loss. That's loss. See, we can predict the seasons of life. We can predict them. We just don't know when they're going to occur. Well, I can predict that my kids are going to move out. I can predict that one day I'm going to die. I was born and I'm going to die. I just don't know when it's going to occur. And so we know that their seasons changing. We know what they are. The truth is we just don't know when they occur. And sometimes that's the difficulty. See, waiting is a season, is it not? Waiting is a season of life, waiting for a spouse. We don't know how long that waiting is going to be. And we wait for so many things in life because most things in life are out of our control. Some seasons come and go by quickly, and others just seem to drag on and drag on. But know this, that all of life's seasons are out of our control. And so it begs the question, so who controls the seasons then? Well, God does. In fact, Daniel chapter 2:21 says this: God controls the times and the seasons, and he makes and unmakes kings. Seasons are often confusing. Seasons are often confusing. Why is this happening to me? I don't get it. Now, understanding a season in your life usually follows the season. Listen, never precedes it. When you take a look back and say, oh, now I understand. Hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? When you take a look back and say, now I understand, but I know in my life that I've had to always be on the other side of it to be able to look back, to understand it, and to understand why, and to understand what God was doing in my life. You see, Joseph was able to say to his brothers, after all that Joseph went through, it's in Genesis chapter 50, I believe, that Joseph was able to say, after all that, to his brothers, what you intended for harm, God has used for good, the saving of an entire nation. Joseph said, I see it now. I actually get it now, but I couldn't see it when I was in it, but I can see it after it. When I look back, isn't that true? We understand the season we are in often after it's over. Because looking back upon your life and looking back upon my life brings perspective. Looking forward is always unknown. However, there are things that happen in our lives that we just do not understand. I don't know why some of you lost a spouse when you did. I don't know. I don't know why some of you have suffered miscarriages. I don't know why some of you continue to suffer from depression that never ever gives up. I don't know why some people have got sick this year and why others. I don't know. It's above my pay grade. And we don't understand everything that happens in our life. And I just want to say that from Job, God doesn't owe you an explanation either. He doesn't owe you an explanation, because this is what I know about me, and I'm pretty sure this is what I know about you. All of us want to live our lives by explanation. But God calls us to live by faith. We want to live our lives by explanation. Explain everything to me. But God calls you and I, as if you're a follower of Jesus, we're not called to live by explanation. We're called to live by faith. Ask God all the questions you want in eternity in heaven. But seasons on planet Earth are often confusing, are they not? Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time, and He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. God also has a purpose in every season. God has a purpose for every season. Seasons of loss, seasons of grief, seasons of change, seasons of marriage. Note this well-known verse. You know it well. Romans chapter 8:28. It says, we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. I underlined all things. Do you notice that Paul didn't say some things? We know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God and to those who are called according to His purpose. Did you notice the condition in verse 28? It's only for people who love God. Let me tell you something right now. The Lord does not work all things for good for everybody on planet Earth. All things work together for good to those who love God and who are fitting into His purpose and plans. So if you are a believer, this is what you have to understand. If you are a believer, nothing comes into your life that God your Father has not already filtered. Your life and my life, church, is not a series of freak random accidents. God never does anything by accident, never has, never will. Things happen at the appointed time in your life. And even bad things, Pastor, yeah, even bad things. At the appointed time in your life. God doesn't plan every bad thing in my life. I look back upon my 50 years, and add a year. I turned 50 this year. God help us all. I look upon my life and I can tell you that I have a knack of creating bad in my life all by myself. Bad things can happen by the decisions I make or by the decisions that other people make. God can bring purpose out of every single event in your life, even the bad ones. No matter how shameful or guilty I feel about it, all things work together for our good, for those who love God and who have been called according to His purpose. God ain't working good for every person on planet Earth. See, seasons of life bring both good times and bad times. Life is full of contrasts. We stand on mountains and we travel through the valleys. We have successes and we've also had failures. We have wins and we also have losses. In our passage of scripture today in Ecclesiastes, we discover 28 different life circumstances and experiences. Check out the screen. This is not an exhaustive list, by the way, but it covers a lot of ground. So in weather we have 4 seasons. If you live in Melbourne, you can see that in one afternoon, right? But in my life and your life, there are dozens and dozens of different seasons. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to reap that which is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to keep and a time to throw away. That's a good verse for my garage. There's a time to speak and there's a time to be silent, and I usually get those two mixed up. There was one in there too in another translation that says there's a time to hug and a time to refrain from hugging. Like that was COVID. We need to talk to Dominic about that. But yeah. Life is a contrast, says wise King Solomon. And all different types of seasons. If it was always summer and no rain like we've been experiencing for the last month, it makes a desert. But if we're following God like we should, each of these seasons has value and has purpose for our life. I know that those of you who have lost spouses, I know it rips your heart out and you're never the same and you never will be until you're reunited to them. But I bet you learnt something in it. I bet you God taught you something in that season about yourself and about who He is and about His presence, that He never left you during those times and walked with you. Loss is hard, but it brings perspective. Mourning is awful, but it brings relief. God's will is not only when you're on the mountaintop or you're at a conference. You may be in a season of mourning right now, and you may be smack bang in the middle of God's will for your life. You may be in God's will moving to a new location. But you may be in God's will staying right where you are. There is a time and a place for every season under heaven. God can take bad things and in time turn them around for good. Cancer is not good. What is good about cancer? Nothing. Cancer is not good. But God can use that to bring a whole heap of good things because of it. You may be in a season right now and it's not a beautiful season. It might be an ugly season. It's downright ugly at the moment. Your marriage might look ugly. Your finances look ugly. Your health looks ugly. Your walk with God might look ugly. But know this, God will bring good out of it and something beautiful out of it if you give Him the pieces. Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. One translation says. So how do I grow from the seasons of life? How do I grow from the seasons of life? What are some things to know in different seasons of our lives? What can we learn? Well, we can learn this, that no season lasts forever. This too shall pass. Change is always on its way. Look in the mirror. Like a coin has always two sides, change is on its way. Life just has a way of changing. I've been listening to some Bob Dylan lately, and the times are a-changing. They really are. Good seasons come and go, and so do bad seasons and trying seasons. Bad seasons do not last forever. Example, if you are heartbroken due to a failed relationship, you may think it's all over and there's no future. But be patient, things will turn. So we learn that no season lasts forever, but we also need to learn that we need to build consistency in every season. What do I mean? Paul told Timothy to preach the gospel in season and also out of season, in good times and also in bad times. Be consistent in every season. See, what I mean, don't be a fair weather Christian, who loves God and loves church when things are going well and everything's summer and spring. And although gets upset and angry with God, it's all right to be angry with God, but gets upset and stays away from church when things are going bad. I just want to say, come on, we're better than that. Farmers do different things in different seasons. There are times for planting and resting and watering and harvesting. There is a lot of preparatory work required in order to reap a harvest. Marriages also go through seasons, do they not? Yeah, they do. But we've got to work through the seasons in our lives. Let it build character, not complaint. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 4 says, "A sluggard does not plough in season. So when the harvest time comes, he looks but finds nothing." We need to do the work, that corresponds to the different seasons in our lives. Don't get bitter in a trying season. It's so easy to lose your head in a change of season. Let's not lose our heads in change of seasons, but rather make the decision, church, to learn from every season that you are in. Every season has lessons of life for us. In Joseph's life, God had a plan. In Joseph's life, the plan of God was for him to rule. But before he ruled, he was actually ruled over. See, what I am learning now and what you learn now in the season that you are in will help us to be wiser, so that when I next go through this season, I could also, or you could also, be helpful to someone else who will go through that season down the track. What better than a seasoned married couple who've gone through trying seasons in marriages and difficult seasons to be able to help and mentor a younger married couple to go, look, yeah, we've been there. We've been there. It's going to be okay. You can learn things in your dark seasons that enable you to minister hope and stability and encouragement to others who will face those same kinds of things down the track. So let's not despair if there are trials. God is with you in it and he'll bring you through it. If we can learn something from every season we're in, we have to also understand that we need to embrace your season. Embrace your season. Life is full of seasons. We just need to do the seasons well. No matter what season you are in, embrace it. Don't wish it away too soon, like parenting. I can't wait until they're toddlers. Oh, I can't wait till they're toilet trained. Man, I can't wait till they go to school. Man, I can't wait until they get a job. Man, I can't wait until they move out. Nope. Some of us are so busy. I think young mums need to hear this as well. Some of us are so busy lamenting the season that we are in that we miss all the good things that are in that season. Don't we? Come on, parents, older parents, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? How many older parents here know exactly what I'm talking about? Oh, how I wish that I never wished away some seasons. Like, kids are great at this. I can't wait until I turn 10. Oh, I can't wait until I turn 16. Oh, I can't wait until I turn 18. Oh, I can't wait till I turn 21. And now I'm going, I wish I was 39. And finally this morning, church, that God is at work in every season. The Lord was with Joseph in the pit. The Lord was with Joseph in Potiphar's house. The Lord was with Joseph in prison. And the Lord was with Joseph while he was in charge and ruled over Egypt. God is at work in every season of my life and your life as well. He is working behind the scenes of your seasons, working in every season. What is he working for in every season? Well, we can be confident that God is working things out for our good, no matter how things are going in our external world. God's main purpose, listen, I know you want to hang around here forever, maybe some of you, but listen, God's main purpose is to prepare you for eternity, because it's coming at you at 1,000 miles an hour. Praise God. God's main purpose is to prepare us and form us for eternity, to conform us into the image of Jesus Christ, and I'll use different seasons to make it happen and to make us grow. I just want to say to you, what season are you in today? Embrace your season, because God is working his purposes. Amen?